First contact gone wrong. The emergency klaxon shattered the calm of Earth's Central Command as Admiral Alina Reyes rushed into the control room. Her eyes immediately went to the main display where a distress signal pulsed in angry red. "Status report," she demanded, her voice cutting through the tension. Commander Jackson turned from his console, face grim. "It's the Horizon, Admiral. Exploration vessel on the edge of the Arcturus sector. Their transmission cut off mid-sentence about 3 hours ago, but what we received doesn't sound good." Reyes nodded. The Horizon was one of humanity's premier scientific vessels, carrying 42 of Earth's brightest minds. "Play the message." The room fell silent as Captain David Lynn's voice filled the command center. "This is Captain Lynn of the UES Horizon. We've discovered what appears to be an artificial structure at coordinates Delta 97. Unknown origin, definitely not human. We're maintaining distance, and wait, multiple ships appearing from behind the structure. They're accelerating toward us, attempting communication, but no response. We're withdrawing to safe distance tow." Static consumed the rest. "That's all we received," Jackson said. Automatic distress beacon activated immediately after. Admiral Reyes studied the star chart. The Horizon was far beyond immediate military support. The nearest combat-ready vessel was at least 6 days away at maximum speed. "What assets do we have closer?" she asked. "Only the Compassion, Mom. Medical and humanitarian vessel under Captain Maya Chen. They could reach the Horizon in approximately 18 hours. Reyes frowned. The Compassion wasn't built for combat situations. It was a converted passenger liner now serving as a hospital ship, designed for disaster relief and medical evacuations. "What about combat escorts?" "Nothing that could accompany them in time, Admiral." Reyes paced, weighing her options. The Horizon's crew needed help, but sending an unarmed vessel into a potentially hostile situation violated protocol. Yet those were 42 lives at stake. "Open a channel to the Compassion." Captain Maya Chen appeared on screen, her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, eyes alert despite being woken from sleep cycle. "Admiral Reyes, what can I do for you?" "Captain, we have a situation. The exploration vessel Horizon sent a distress call from the edge of the Arcturus sector. Possible first contact scenario gone wrong." Chen's posture straightened. "You need us to mount a rescue operation." "Yes, but I need to be clear. This is volunteer only. We don't know what happened out there. Something caused the Horizon to activate its distress beacon. Your ship isn't armed." Chen didn't hesitate. "The Compassion was built to save lives, Admiral. My crew signed up knowing the risks. We'll go." Reyes nodded. "Set course immediately. Full details are being transmitted now. I'm authorizing you to evacuate the Horizon's crew and return directly to Earth. No heroics, no investigations. Get in, get our people, get out." "Understood, Admiral." Chen paused. "And if whatever's out there doesn't let us leave, then you use everything at your disposal to protect your people and get that information back to us. Godspeed, Captain." As the Compassion accelerated to its maximum velocity, Captain Chen briefed her senior staff in the ship's conference room. Medical Director Dr. Omar Patel, Security Chief Teresa Rodriguez, and Engineering Lead Hiroshi Nakamura listened intently as she laid out what little they knew. "We're flying blind into a potential first contact situation," Chen concluded, "one that may have already turned hostile." Dr. Patel stroked his salt and pepper beard. "We should prepare for multiple trauma scenarios. If they were attacked, we could be looking at severe injuries, decompression sickness, radiation exposure." Rodriguez, a former Marine with hard eyes that had seen too much conflict, spoke next. "My security team is limited, Captain. 15 personnel with standard non-lethal equipment. If these aliens are hostile—" "We're not going to fight," Chen interrupted. "Our mission is rescue, nothing more. Get in, find survivors, get out. And if they attack us—" Rodriguez pressed. Chen met her gaze steadily. "Then we improvise. Nakamura, what's our ship status? The engineer consulted his tablet. Engines at peak efficiency. I've diverted power from non-essential systems to strengthen our shields, but the Compassion was never designed for combat, Captain. Then let's hope it doesn't come to that, Chen said. We reached the horizon's last known coordinates in 17 hours. I want all departments ready. Patel, prepare your medical teams for possible mass casualties. Rodriguez, coordinate evacuation protocols with engineering. Nakamura, I want emergency power reserves and maximum shield capacity. As her staff departed, Chen remained in the conference room, studying the star charts. The Arcturus sector was largely unexplored, a frontier region where humanity had only recently begun to venture. What had the horizon found out there? And more importantly, what had found them? 16 hours later, the Compassion dropped out of FTL on the edge of the system, where the horizon's distress beacon continued its monotonous pulse. The bridge crew worked in focused silence as passive sensors swept the area. I'm detecting the horizon, announced Sensor Officer Park, approximately 300,000 kilometers from our position. The ship appears intact but showing signs of damage. Multiple hull breaches detected, life support functioning, but at reduced capacity. Any other vessels? Chen asked, tension evident in her voice. Negative, Captain. Just the horizon. And wait. Park frowned at his console. I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the far side of that asteroid field. Can't identify the source. Chen made her decision. Take us in, half impulse. Maintain passive scans only. Let's not announce ourselves any more than necessary. As the Compassion closed the distance, the damage to the horizon became clearly visible on the view screen. Precision strikes had disabled its engines and communications array, but whoever had attacked had clearly wanted the ship intact. Life signs? Chen asked. Confirmed, Park replied. Reading approximately 35 human life signs clustered in the central section. Several appear weak or injured. Chen nodded. Prepare boarding teams. Dr. Patel will lead Medical Team 1. Rodriguez, your security detail will escort. The Compassion maneuvered alongside the damaged exploration vessel, extending docking tubes to create a secure passage between the ships. As the rescue teams prepared at the airlock, Chen addressed them directly. We don't know exactly what happened here, but our priority is clear. Get the survivors back to the Compassion as quickly as possible. Keep communications open at all times. Rodriguez checked her sidearm, a standard-issue stun pistol, before securing it to her belt. My team will take point, establish a secure corridor, then signal medical to follow. The airlock cycled open, and a rescue team entered the horizon. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows through the smoke-filled corridors. The internal damage was worse than scans had indicated. Entire sections were exposed to vacuum, sealed off by emergency bulkheads. Life signs strongest in the mess hall and science lab. Rodriguez reported, checking her scanner. This way. They found the first survivors huddled in what had once been the ship's mess hall. 18 exhausted men and women looked up with desperate hope at the sight of the rescue team. A man with a makeshift bandage around his head stood shakily. Chief Science Officer Nathan Reed. He introduced himself. Captain Lin is dead. They hit the bridge first. Who hit you? Rodriguez asked as Paddle's medical team moved among the survivors, triaging injuries. Reed's eyes were haunted. We don't know. They appeared from nowhere. Black ships, unlike anything we've ever seen. They didn't respond to any communication attempts, just opened fire, precise strikes to disable us. Why didn't they destroy you completely? Chen asked over the comm. Reed's laugh was bitter. Because they wanted samples. They boarded us 6 hours after the attack. Took 7 of our crew. Just selected them somehow and transported them away. We tried to fight back, but our weapons were useless against their armor. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. Dr. Patel, status. Most injuries are treatable, Captain. 3 critical cases that need immediate evac. Begin transport immediately. Rodriguez, take a team and check the science lab. Sensors indicated more survivors there. As the first group of survivors was escorted to the Compassion, Rodriguez led her team deeper into the damaged vessel. They found the remaining crew barricaded in the main laboratory, scientists protecting their work even in crisis. A woman with streaks of gray in her black hair greeted them. Dr. Amara Okafor, Synobiology. Thank God you're here. We need to evacuate now, Rodriguez stated. Dr. Okafor shook her head. Not without our data. You don't understand what we found. She gestured to the lab's main display where images showed a massive artificial structure floating in deep space. This is what they're protecting. Some kind of processing facility. We observed them for days before they detected us. They, the harvesters, that's what we're calling them. They were processing other ships. Alien vessels we've never encountered before. Stripping them down, taking certain crew members. Rodriguez tensed. You have evidence of this. Complete sensor logs, visual recordings, even intercepted communications we haven't decoded yet. Okafor held up a small data crystal. Everything's here. The ship suddenly shuddered violently. Captain, what was that? Rodriguez demanded over the comm. Chen's voice came back tight with tension. They're back. 3 vessels just appeared on sensors. Same configuration described by the survivors. They're heading straight for us. Evacuate now. Rodriguez ordered. Everyone move. As they rushed the remaining survivors toward the docking tube, the ship rocked again. They've opened fire, Chen reported. Shields at 60% and falling. We can't take much more of this. Rodriguez made a split-second decision. Dr. Okafor, give me the data crystal. She turned to her second-in-command. Get them to the ship. I'll create a diversion. Chief, that's an order. This information needs to reach Earth. As the survivors were evacuated to the Compassion, Rodriguez headed for the Horizon's auxiliary control room. If she could access the ship's remaining power, maybe she could give the Compassion the time it needed to escape. On the Compassion's bridge, Chen watched in horror as the alien vessels methodically targeted her ship's engines. They're trying to disable us, not destroy us, she realized aloud. Just like they did to the Horizon. Last group of survivors aboard, reported the tactical officer. All except Chief Rodriguez. Where is she? Still on the Horizon. She's accessing their systems. Chen opened a channel. Rodriguez, get back here now. We're leaving. Not yet, Captain. Rodriguez's voice was calm. I'm rerouting power to the Horizon's engines. 1 good burn left. I'm going to give these bastards something else to worry about. That's a suicide run. Maybe, but it'll give you time to get clear and jump to FTL. That data needs to reach Earth, Captain. They need to know what's out here. Chen wanted to argue, but the tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. The Compassion wouldn't survive another direct hit. Prepare for emergency departure, she ordered, her voice tight with emotion. Be ready to jump the moment we clear the docking tube. On her screen, Chen watched as power readings spiked across the horizon. Rodriguez had somehow managed to coax one final burst from the damaged engines. The exploration vessel lurched forward, accelerating directly toward the largest alien ship. Status of the docking tube, Chen demanded. Disengage. We're clear. Maximum thrust. Get us out of here. The Compassion pulled away as the Horizon picked up speed, becoming a makeshift missile guided by one determined security chief. The alien vessels immediately shifted their attack to the new threat, giving the Compassion precious seconds to escape. Chen watched as the Horizon collided with the lead alien vessel in a brilliant flash of light and energy. The alien ship didn't explode but listed heavily, its sleek form now marred by a gaping wound. Jump to FTL, now, Chen ordered. As the stars streaked into lines around them, Chen stood on her bridge, one hand pressed against the view screen where the Horizon had made its final stand. Get me a secure channel to Earth Command, she said quietly. Tell them, Tell them first contact has been made, and it's hostile. Humanity unleashed. The United Earth Defense Council chamber was silent as the recording ended. The data crystal recovered from the horizon had contained not only sensor logs and intercepted communications, but also footage from the ship's external cameras. They had just witnessed the final moments of Security Chief Rodriguez as she piloted the crippled vessel into the alien ship. Admiral Elena Reyes stood at the center of the horseshoe-shaped table where representatives from every nation and colony sat in stunned silence. Behind her, the holographic display still showed the frozen image of the alien facility, a massive structure that dwarfed even Earth's largest space stations. "What we've just seen," Reyes began, her voice measured, "is evidence of a methodical, coordinated effort to capture and study multiple sentient species. The horizon wasn't their first target, and based on Dr. Okafor's analysis, at least 6 other spacefaring civilizations have fallen victim to these harvesters." General Kwan of the Asian Coalition Defense Force leaned forward. "And you believe Earth is next?" "I believe Earth is already on their list," Reyes responded. "The data shows they've been operating in our sector for at least 3 years. The disappearance of the Ganymede mining outpost last year, the loss of contact with deep space probes. We attributed those to accidents or equipment failure." Captain Maya Chen, still wearing her compassion uniform, spoke next. "The aliens specifically targeted humans for collection. They sorted through the crew, selected certain individuals. Dr. Okafor believes they're particularly interested in our genetic diversity." "For what purpose?" asked the European Union representative. Dr. Amara Okafor stepped forward. The xenobiologist had aged years in just days, but her voice remained strong. "Based on what we observed, they appear to be cataloging species. The facility contains what can only be described as specimen tanks, thousands of them. Some contained beings that were clearly not human but humanoid. Others held creatures unlike anything in our xenobiology database." "A zoo?" someone suggested. Okafor shook her head. "No. The specimens were being systematically tested. Tissue samples, neural scans. This isn't curiosity, it's assessment." "Assessment for what?" The question hung in the air. Admiral Reyes took control again. "We don't know their ultimate purpose, but their actions make their immediate intentions clear. They attacked an unarmed research vessel. They specifically targeted a humanitarian rescue ship. They took our people against their will. This is not a civilization interested in peaceful contact." The world president, Sophia Mbeki, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "What options do we have, Admiral?" "3, Madam President. First, we attempt diplomatic contact. Based on their behavior so far, I consider this futile, but it is an option." General Vasquez of the Americas Alliance snorted. "They didn't respond to any communication attempts. What makes you think they'll talk now?" "I don't," Reyes admitted. "Which brings us to option 2, defensive posture. We fortify Sol system, recall all external missions, and prepare for inevitable contact on their terms." "And option 3?" President Mickey asked, though her expression suggested she already knew. Admiral Reyes straightened to her full height. "We take the fight to them. The horizon data gives us the location of their facility. We assemble everything we have and strike before they can fully assess our capabilities." The chamber erupted in heated debate. Some argued for caution, others for immediate action. Captain Chen watched silently until President Mbeki called for order. "Captain Chen," the president addressed her directly, "you faced these beings. You saw firsthand what they're capable of. What would you advise?" Chen stood, feeling the weight of every eye in the room. "Madam President, members of the Council, I am not a military strategist. I command a medical ship. My instinct is always to heal, not harm." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "But what I witnessed wasn't a misunderstanding or cultural difference. The harvesters took our people as specimens. They attacked without provocation. They showed no interest in communication." She looked directly at President Mbeki. If we wait, they will come in force on their timeline after they've completed their assessment. Whatever we do, it must be decisive, and it must be soon. President Mbeki nodded slowly. Admiral Rice, how quickly can we mount an effective response? 3 weeks to assemble the fleet, another week to reach the target. Do it, the President ordered. Mobilize everything we have. And let's pray it's enough. The following days saw the largest military mobilization in human history. Ships from every nation and colony converged on Earth's orbital shipyards. Weapons systems were upgraded, tactics developed based on the limited data available on Harvester technology. Dr. Okafor worked tirelessly with engineering teams, analyzing the alien ships' energy signatures for potential vulnerabilities. Their hulls absorb our standard energy weapons, she explained during one briefing. But they operate on a frequency we can potentially disrupt. Captain Chen found herself unexpectedly drafted into the war effort. Her first-hand experience with the Harvesters made her invaluable to planning. The Compassion, originally scheduled for decommissioning, was hastily retrofitted with experimental medical equipment. "You're turning my hospital ship into a combat medic," Chen observed as Admiral Rice escorted her through the renovated medical bay. "We're expecting casualties," Rice replied grimly. "Your ship will hang back from the main assault, but we need you ready to receive wounded." Chen nodded, understanding the unspoken message. They expected many wouldn't return. 3 weeks later, the United Earth Defense Fleet assembled at the edge of the Sol system. 87 warships representing every nation on Earth, the largest armada ever assembled. At its center was the newly commissioned UES Vengeance, a dreadnought built specifically for this mission. Admiral Rice stood on its bridge, surveying the tactical display. "Final status report," she ordered. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," her tactical officer confirmed. Strike teams briefed and prepared for boarding operations. Rice opened a fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral Rice to all ships. 3 weeks ago, an alien force that calls itself the Harvesters attacked our people. They took our citizens against their will. They killed without provocation. Today, we answer that aggression." She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew, determined, focused, afraid but unwilling to show it. "This is not a war we chose, but it is one we must win. For the crew of the Horizon, for Chief Rodriguez, for every human taken by these beings, for Earth." The fleet jumped to FTL in perfect formation, accelerating toward the coordinates extracted from the Horizon data. 5 days later, they arrived at the edge of the target system. "Passive scans only," Rice ordered as the fleet dropped out of FTL. "Maintain stealth protocols." The tactical display confirmed what the Horizon had discovered: a massive artificial structure orbiting a dead star. Around it swarmed dozens of the black, angular ships they now knew were Harvester vessels. "They have no defensive perimeter," observed General Quan from his position at the tactical station. "No early warning system that we can detect." "Overconfidence," Rice suggested. "Or they simply don't expect anyone to fight back. Deploy reconnaissance drones. I want detailed scans of that facility before we commit." The stealth drones transmitted data for 6 hours, mapping the structure's exterior and identifying key systems. Dr. Okafor analyzed the readings from her station on the Vengeance. "I'm detecting multiple containment areas," she reported, "consistent with what we observed in the Horizon data. And yes, I'm picking up human biosigns." Rice leaned forward sharply. "You're sure?" "Positive, Admiral. At least 30 distinct human signatures within the central hub of the facility." The rescue mission had just become significantly more complicated. "Update the assault plan," Rice ordered. "Priority 1 remains disabling their fleet, but I want strike teams ready to breach that facility and extract our people." The plan was audacious but straightforward. The main battle group would engage the Harvester fleet while a smaller, faster strike force would approach from the system's ecliptic plane, a blind spot in the facility's sensor coverage. Strike teams would board the facility, locate the human prisoners, and extract them while the fleet covered their escape. If we succeed, Rise told her commanders, we not only save our people but acquire invaluable intelligence on these beings. If we fail, she didn't need to finish the thought. The attack began precisely as planned. The main battle group dropped stealth protocols and accelerated toward the facility, weapons charged. The Harvester response was immediate, ships disengaging from docking ports, forming up with unnerving precision. "They're fast," muttered General Quan as they watched the tactical display. "Formation suggests hive mind tactics." The first volley from Earth's ships seemed to confirm their worst fears. Standard energy weapons dissipated harmlessly against the Harvester hulls. "Switching to modified frequencies," announced the weapons officer. The next barrage used the adjustments Dr. Okafor had developed based on the horizon data. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The recalibrated weapons tore through the Harvester shields, leaving smoking holes in their obsidian hulls. "It's working," Dr. Okafor exclaimed. The battle quickly intensified. What the Harvesters lacked in adaptation, they made up for in numbers and coordination. 3 Earth vessels were lost in the first exchange, their crews barely having time to reach escape pods. Meanwhile, the strike force approached the facility undetected, using the chaos of the main battle as cover. Captain Chen, aboard the modified Compassion, monitored their approach. "Strike teams have reached entry point Alpha," reported her communications officer. "Breaching in 3, 2, 1. The feed from the strike team's helmet cameras showed them cutting through the facility's outer hull. Inside, the architecture was alien, angular corridors with pulsing lights that seemed to follow their movement. "Biosigns indicate human captives 2 levels down," directed Dr. Okafor through the comm. "Be advised, internal defenses likely." The strike team encountered resistance almost immediately. Automated security systems and what appeared to be robotic sentries. The fighting was intense but brief, Earth's soldiers using modified weapons that disrupted the Harvester's technology. In orbit, the battle had reached a critical phase. Earth's fleet was holding its own against the Harvester ships, but attrition was beginning to tell. The Vengeance shuddered as direct hits breached its forward shields. "Reroute power to forward batteries," ordered Admiral Reyes. "Focus fire on their command ship." The massive Harvester vessel at the center of their formation had yet to take significant damage. It directed the alien fleet with uncanny efficiency, anticipating Earth's maneuvers with disturbing accuracy. "Admiral," called Dr. Okafor urgently, "I'm detecting a power surge from the facility. They're activating something big." On the main view screen, a section of the facility arised open, revealing what could only be described as a massive weapon. Energy readings spiked off the charts. "Evasive maneuvers," Rise shouted, but she knew they couldn't move the entire fleet in time. The weapon discharge, a blinding beam of coherent energy that cut through space toward the Earth fleet. But instead of striking the Vengeance, it simply stopped. Midway between the facility and the fleet, the energy beam twisted in on itself, collapsing into a sphere of light that quickly winked out of existence. "What just happened?" Rise demanded. General Quan checked his readings in disbelief. "It appears to be some kind of energy dampening field. Origin." The Compassion. All eyes turned to the tactical display, where the modified hospital ship had positioned itself directly in the weapon's path. Captain Chen's voice came through, strained but triumphant. "The Okafor field is working, Admiral. We can redirect their energy weapons." Dr. Okafor's experimental system, hastily installed on the Compassion, was based on the Harvester's own technology, designed to absorb and redirect energy. It had never been tested in combat conditions until now. "All ships," Admiral Rise ordered, "concentrate fire on that weapon while it's recharging. Captain Chen, can you maintain the field?" "For 3 more minutes at most," Chen replied. "The system's already overheating." It was enough. The Earth fleet hammered the exposed weapon with everything they had, precision strikes guided by the horizon data. The facility's weapon collapsed in on itself, the explosion tearing a massive hole in the structure's hull. Aboard the facility, the strike teams had reached the containment area. What they found sickened even the most hardened veterans. Humans suspended in transparent chambers, connected to machines that systematically probed and sampled their bodies. Some had clearly been there for months or even years. "We've located 35 human captives," reported strike team leader Colonel Abrams. "Some from the horizon, others from ships we thought lost to accidents. Beginning extraction now." As the strike teams worked to free the prisoners, they discovered something unexpected: containment pods holding members of other species, beings never before encountered by humanity, all subjected to the same methodical experimentation. "Admiral," Colonel Abrams transmitted, "request permission to extract non-human captives as well." There was a brief pause before Reyes responded. "Granted, Colonel. No one deserves this fate." In orbit, the tide of battle had turned decisively. With their main weapon destroyed and their tactics decoded, the Harvester fleet began to fragment. Ships attempted to flee, only to be intercepted by Earth vessels that now understood their vulnerabilities. "Strike teams reporting extraction complete," announced the communications officer. "All human captives secured. 17 non-human individuals also recovered, returning to extraction points now." Admiral Reyes made her final decision. "Plant the charges. We're not leaving any of this intact." Nuclear demolition charges were positioned at key structural points throughout the facility. As the strike teams withdrew with their rescued captives, Colonel Abrams made one final discovery: a central database core. "Admiral, we found what appears to be their main computer system. Dr. Okafor believes it contains data on all their operations, possibly including the locations of other facilities. Download everything you can, then destroy it," Reyes ordered. "We leave nothing for them to salvage." As the strike teams returned to their ships, Earth's fleet began a coordinated withdrawal. The remaining Harvester vessels, perhaps sensing what was coming, attempted one final desperate attack. "Compassion under heavy fire," reported Captain Chen. "Shields failing. Intercept course," Reyes commanded. The Vengeance moved to position itself between the wounded hospital ship and the attacking Harvesters. "Get those people home, Captain. We'll cover you." The Vengeance took multiple direct hits, protecting the Compassion until the hospital ship could jump to safety with its precious cargo of rescued prisoners. As the last Earth ships prepared to withdraw, Admiral Reyes remained on station, ensuring the demolition charges were armed and ready. "Detonation in 60 seconds, reported her tactical officer. "All Earth ships except us have cleared the blast radius." Reyes watched the countdown, thinking of the Horizon's crew and Chief Rodriguez's sacrifice. "Send a message on all frequencies," she ordered. "Simple text only, universal mathematical encoding." "Message content, Admiral." Reyes' expression was grim but satisfied. "Never again." The Vengeance jumped to FTL just as the charges detonated. Behind them, the Harvester facility erupted in a series of nuclear fireballs, the structure tearing itself apart as chain reactions consumed it and the remaining alien ships. 3 weeks later, the Earth fleet returned to Sol System in triumph, but not without cost. 17 ships had been lost, over 1,000 personnel killed or injured, but they had rescued not only their own people but representatives of 7 other species previously unknown to humanity. In a private meeting room at Earth Central Command, Admiral Reyes sat across from President Mbeki, Captain Chen, and Dr. Okafor. On the table between them lay a data crystal, the downloaded contents of the Harvester database. "Initial analysis confirms our worst fears," Reyes explained. "The facility we destroyed was one of 5. They'd been operating in this sector of the galaxy for at least 3 centuries, cataloging and experimenting on sentient species." "For what purpose?" asked President Mbeki. Dr. Okafor leaned forward. "Genetic harvesting. They collect traits they find useful and somehow incorporate them into their own genome. They're not just studying us. They're shopping for upgrades." "And the other species we rescued?" Captain Chen asked. Recovering slowly, Rice replied. Our xenobiologists are working to understand their physiological needs. Some have begun attempting communication. President Mbeki stood, walking to the window that overlooked the sprawling Earth Defense Headquarters. So what happens now, Admiral? We destroyed one facility, but there are 4 more out there. We go after them, Rice stated simply, but not alone. She activated a holographic display showing the recovered aliens, beings of different shapes, sizes, and apparent evolutionary paths, all victims of the same predator. For the first time in human history, we have irrefutable proof we're not alone in the universe, and our first collective experience was being hunted by the same enemy. Rice gestured to the data crystal. This contains coordinates for the Harvester's homeworld, as well as their other facilities. It also has data on the worlds these other species come from. Captain Chen understood immediately. You want to return them home and form an alliance. The Harvesters have been hunting vulnerable species one by one for centuries, Rice confirmed. But they've never faced united resistance. We've proven they can be beaten. Now we need to finish what we started. President Mbeki considered this for a long moment. The diplomatic and technological implications are enormous. Some of these species may be far more advanced than we are, or far less, Dr. Okafor pointed out. But all of them have something we share, the right to exist without being treated as specimens. The president nodded slowly. Very well, Admiral. You have authorization to establish first contact protocols with our fellow survivors. Captain Chen, given your experience with first contact situations, however unfortunate, and your medical background, I'm assigning you as our primary liaison. Chen looked startled. Madam President, I'm a ship's captain, not a diplomat. You're a human who chose to save others, human and non-human alike, at great personal risk, President Mbeki corrected. That makes you exactly the diplomat we need right now. As the meeting concluded, Captain Chen found herself standing beside Admiral Rice, looking at the holographic images of the rescued aliens. Do you think they'll join us? Chen asked quietly. Fight alongside humans against the Harvesters. Rice considered the question. I think, she said finally, that we've all learned an important lesson. In this vast, dangerous universe, there are predators that see sentient beings as nothing more than resources to be harvested. But there are also those who will risk everything to save lives, even lives very different from their own. She turned to Chen with a rare smile. That's what humanity brought to this fight. Not just weapons or tactics, but the simple, powerful idea that every sentient being has value. If we can share that conviction with our new allies, the Harvesters don't stand a chance. Out in the galaxy, the remaining Harvester facilities continued their cold, methodical work, unaware that for the first time in their long history, their prey was organizing. Unaware that the specimens they had so carelessly collected were coming for them, and leading the charge would be the most dangerous prey of all. Humans who had learned that the best revenge was not just to win, but to unite.